Before we begin, imagine this. You come home from a night shift and find a warm cup of tea beside a chair you never use. The shower is wet. Food is missing. You live alone. Listen carefully. This is someone was living in my apartment while I worked nights. My name is Nora Ellis. I was 29, and I rented a small apartment above a bakery. It had one bedroom, pale green walls, and a blue chair beside the window. It was not beautiful, but it was the first home that was completely mine. I worked nights at a hospital supply desk. My shift began at 10 in the evening and ended at 6 in the morning. I counted boxes, answered calls, and sent clean equipment to different floors. The work was quiet, steady, and tiring. Every evening, I locked my apartment at 9:15. I carried the same gray bag and bought coffee from the same corner shop. The building manager, Martin Cole, often sat behind the lobby desk. He knew the hours of every tenant because he accepted our deliveries. For the first year, nothing strange happened. I came home, closed the curtains, and slept until the afternoon. My neighbor and friend, Darius, sometimes left bread outside my door. He worked from home and joked that he was the building's morning guard. Then, one Tuesday, I opened my refrigerator and noticed that one yogurt was gone. I thought I had eaten it during a tired morning. I smiled at myself, wrote yogurt on my shopping list, and went to bed. 2 days later, I found a white towel hanging over the shower door. It was still wet. I had not used that towel for a week. I touched the bathroom floor. It was dry, but the mirror held a thin cloud of water. I checked the windows and the front lock. Nothing was broken. I called Martin. He said a pipe inspection had happened on my floor, but no worker had entered my apartment. Then he laughed softly and said night work could confuse a person's memory. That answer embarrassed me. At the hospital, I counted every box twice. I followed careful lists. But at home, I began writing small notes to myself. Yogurt, 3. Towels, folded. Blue chair, facing the window. The next morning, the blue chair faced the kitchen. A small round mark sat on the table where a hot cup had rested. I stood in the middle of the room and read my notes again. I had not moved the chair. Darius came over when I called. He checked the window locks and looked under the bed. He found no one and no damage. He wanted to help, but his first question hurt. Nora, how much sleep are you getting? Enough to know where my chair belongs, I said. Darius apologized. He offered to stay in the apartment while I worked, but I did not want to turn my home into a trap. I only wanted a clear answer. Martin visited that afternoon with a ring of keys. He tested my lock and said it worked perfectly. He showed me a silver master key but promised it stayed in a locked office. No one can enter without a record, he said. I had trusted that key when I signed the lease. Martin explained that it was only for fires, floods, or medical emergencies. He made the system sound safe. Now the same silver key looked different. It was not proof of protection. It was a question he controlled. I asked to see that record. His smile disappeared for half a second. Then he said the computer system had been updating all week. He would print the information when it was ready. He left quickly, carrying his noisy ring of keys. On Friday morning, the smell of mint tea met me at the door. A cup sat beside the blue chair. Steam still rose from it. My hands became cold. Someone had been inside only minutes before I arrived. I stepped back into the hallway and called Darius. We waited together while building security checked the rooms. Again, nobody was there. The cup was clean except for a pale pink mark on the edge. It did not belong to me. Martin arrived last. He looked shocked, but not surprised. He suggested that Darius had entered as a joke. Darius became angry. I stopped them and pointed at the cup. I need the entry record today, I said. Martin claimed only the property company could release it. I called the company from the lobby. A woman named Miss Alvarez listened carefully. She said tenants could request records connected to an electronic master key. She promised to send mine by evening. The report arrived while I was at work. My own key appeared at 9:15 each night. But a second line appeared at 11:30, 1:20, or 2 in the morning. It was marked Manager Master. There were 9 entries in 3 weeks. I printed the report at the supply desk and placed it beside my shift calendar. Every master key time matched a night when I was inside the hospital. The pattern was too exact to be a broken computer. Someone had studied my routine and used it like a reservation schedule. I called Martin from the hospital hallway. He said the system must be wrong. First, he blamed old inspections. Then he blamed a cleaner. Finally, he said he had used the key once after a water alarm. None of his explanations covered 9 nights. Miss Alvarez asked me not to confront him alone. She planned to visit the building the next afternoon. I changed my schedule and took one personal day. For the first time in years, I was home at 11 in the morning. At 11:40, someone knocked 3 times. I looked through the door viewer. A woman with a red suitcase stood outside. She checked her phone, tried a code on the lock, and knocked again. "Can I help you?" I asked through the closed door. The woman answered, "I rented this apartment for today." Check-in was 11:30. Her name was Rachel Kim. She had paid for a quiet room near the train station. I opened the door only after Darius joined me in the hall. Rachel looked from my face to the family photographs on my shelf. Her confidence disappeared. She showed us a message with pictures of my bedroom, kitchen, and blue chair. The listing called my home a private city apartment. It promised clean towels, tea, and checkout before 6 in the morning. The host used the name Mark, but every message ended with the letter M and a small key symbol. Rachel had stayed there once before. She was the person who used the white towel and drank mint tea. She believed I was the owner. When she saw my fear, she covered her mouth and whispered, "I am so sorry." The truth felt worse than a stranger hiding under my bed. Martin had been renting my apartment while I worked. He knew exactly when I left and when I returned. He used the master key, then told guests to leave before my shift ended. Rachel opened her payment receipt. The money had gone to a small cleaning company. Darius searched the public building directory. The same company received service payments from our building, and Martin's office approved those payments. We saved the messages and took simple photographs of the phone screens. Rachel called the booking company. I called Miss Alvarez again. This time, she arrived with another property manager and asked Martin to remain in the lobby. Before they came upstairs, a second tenant stepped out of the elevator. Her name was Elise, and she carried a wet towel in a plastic bag. Food had disappeared from her apartment too. She worked weekend night shifts at a bus station. Elise had complained to Martin 1 month earlier. He told her that stress was affecting her memory. Her entry report now showed 5 uses of the same master key. 2 different apartments had been offered to guests when their tenants worked nights. We met in the building's small office. Martin sat behind the desk, with his silver key ring beside him. He said an outside cleaner must have copied the key. Rachel placed her phone on the desk and played one saved voice message from the host. The voice said, "Leave the blue chair facing the window." It was Martin's voice. It also mentioned my work schedule and warned Rachel that the hospital employee downstairs needed quiet sleep during the day. The room became completely still. Martin stopped blaming the cleaner. He said the building needed money and the apartments were empty at night. Nobody was hurt, he said. I looked at him and understood that he had never considered my fear to be harm. Miss Alvarez took the master key and called the property company's lawyer. Building security asked Martin to leave the office. The police took our statements because he had entered private homes and accepted payments without permission. The booking company removed the listings that afternoon. It also found reservations for 3 future nights. Rachel received a refund, but another guest had already traveled home and could not return to speak with us. The property company checked its service accounts and found that the small cleaning company belonged to Martin's brother. The company had no cleaners and no office. It was only a name on payment forms. That discovery connected the guest money to the building desk. My lock was replaced before sunset. So was Elisa's. Over the next week, every apartment received a new lock, and master key access required 2 employees. The company offered to end my lease without a fee or move me to another building. I tried to sleep in my apartment one more time. Every sound woke me. The blue chair looked ordinary, but I could still see the warm cup beside it. A new lock could close the door. It could not make the room feel private again. I chose to leave. Darius helped me pack, and Rachel sent a short statement for the investigation. Elise stayed and organized a tenant meeting. We made different choices, but none of us accepted Martin's excuse that an empty room belonged to nobody. 3 weeks later, I moved into a smaller apartment near the hospital. It had a yellow kitchen and no chair beside the window. The manager handed me 2 keys and a printed record showing who could enter in an emergency. On my first morning there, I made mint tea. I carried the warm cup to the window and sat on the floor between unopened boxes. The cup was exactly where I had placed it. The room was quiet because I was alone. I did not feel brave or completely safe. I felt tired, careful, and finally at home. Before I went to sleep, I turned the key with my own hand and heard the lock close. Thank you for watching English Journey Adventures. Listen again for stronger English. Read the words. Repeat the lines. See you in the next journey.